The following episode depicts acts of violence, sexual assault, and murder. Listener discretion is advised. It's the middle of summer, Worcester, 1987. 30-year-old Patricia Evans has just returned to the city after spending a month in a detox center in Springfield. For over 5 years now, Patricia had been back and forth, in and out of treatment centers across the state. Constant battle with her addiction to drugs had taken its toll on the young mother of 4. But leaving the detox this time, there may have been some room for optimism. Patricia had completed her treatment program and was moving into a new apartment in a Piedmont Street triple-decker with her husband and children. But any optimism that may have existed evaporated quickly. Just a month later, on August 8th, 1987, Patricia was found dead in the apartment on the 3rd floor above her family on Piedmont Street. She was strangled to death.
Unsolved Worcester is brought to you by the following sponsors. Follow the crowd through the doors of Donut Homies and say hi to Haley Noel, the donut queen of Worcester's Canal District. Donut Homies is open inside the Worcester Public Market at 160 Green Street every Wednesday through Sunday at 11 a.m. Online ordering with delivery and pickup options is available at donuthomies.com. Follow Donut Homies on Facebook and Instagram for monthly menu drops, specials, and more. Donut Homies, everything sweeter with the homies.
Welcome to Unsolved Worcester. I'm your host, Dan Yeager. In today's episode, we share the unsolved murder of 30-year-old Patricia Evans on August 8th, 1987. One of 10 unsolved murders we explore during Season 4 of Unsolved Worcester. Patricia's partially clothed body was found in the vacant 3rd floor apartment at 118 Piedmont Street. An autopsy revealed the cause of death was a compression injury of the neck. She had been strangled. 36 years later, Patricia's murder remains unsolved. Unsolved Worcester takes a deep dive every Tuesday and Thursday into unsolved murders and missing persons cases under investigation by the Worcester Police Department's Detective Unit. Our goal is to remind residents of the Worcester area, both past and present, that there are dozens of unsolved homicides and missing person cases that need resolution. We hope we can be the spark needed to solve a case. Be sure to visit Unsolved Worcester on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram, and listen to all episodes for free at unsolvedworcester.com on your favorite podcast streaming platforms, and watch our accompanying videos on YouTube. Patricia Evans was a drug addict. She had been fighting the disease for 5 years. Hooked on heroin and cocaine, Patricia battled her addiction right up until her death on August 8, 1987. According to reports, Patricia had been in and out of treatment programs as many as 20 times over the 5 years before she died. Her last stint in rehab was at my sister's house in Springfield. She'd spent a month there in early summer 1987. Patricia was born in Framingham, but had spent most of her life in Worcester. She went to Canterbury Street School for elementary school. She went to high school in Marlborough at the former Madonna Hall School for Girls. It's there where her family believes she started using drugs. On April 1st, 1978, Patricia and James got married at St. John's Church. Despite being married and having 3 children, Patricia would continue to use drugs heavily for most of her life, leading Patricia toward a path to prostitution to help pay for her drug addiction. James was a drug addict too, and he may have introduced Patricia to heroin. When she wasn't on drugs, Patricia's family described her as outgoing, fun, and sincere, and a loving mother. But in the mid-1980s, on 2 occasions, her 3 youngest children were placed in foster homes by the Department of Social Services. Her oldest son lived with relatives. The day before she was found murdered in the vacant apartment on Piedmont Street, on August 7th, 1987, Patricia had been in Worcester District Court charged with prostitution. She was expected back in court in September. James, Patricia's husband of now 9 years, had to bail her out of jail. Here's what James told the police about the next 12 hours at 118 Piedmont Street. James said he spoke with Patricia about 2:30 a.m. right before he went to sleep on Saturday morning, April 8th, 1987. He said he left the apartment early in the morning to take care of a siding job and returned to Piedmont Street around 9 or 10 a.m. He said he went up to the vacant 3rd floor apartment to look for his wife. Patricia was found in the empty apartment. She was partially clothed. It would later be determined she had been strangled to death. James told police that Patricia would go up there alone to hide from her family when she was coming down from a drug binge. Nearly 20 years later, in 2006, Patricia's daughters were interviewed by the TNG and were asked to describe what they remembered from the night their mother was killed. It was just Patricia's daughters and youngest son living with her and her husband James in the 2nd floor Piedmont Street apartment. The children all shared a small bedroom. Patricia's daughters, Amy and Jessica, said they remember hearing a loud thump early in the morning coming from the 3rd floor apartment. It was likely the sound of their mother being strangled to death. The children remember running to their father James to wake him up to let him know they heard a noise upstairs. It was around 7 a.m. James allegedly told his children to go back to bed. A few hours later, James discovered Patricia's body in the 3rd floor apartment. Just days after her death, Worcester police said they had several suspects in connection with Patricia Evans' murder. 6 months later, in mid-January, that had dwindled down to just 1 suspect. At the time, the Telegram and Gazette reported there were no witnesses. No one had seen or heard anything. Nearly 36 years later, no arrests have been made, and Patricia's murder remains unsolved. For 2 weeks leading up to her murder, in late July 1987, Patricia's family said she had been trying to get into the Spectrum House, which had detox clinic locations in Worcester and Westboro. There was a waiting list at Spectrum, but it didn't matter. Patricia never made it. She was murdered before she could get the help she needed. When she died, Patricia left her 4 children, 2 sons and 2 daughters, her husband James, her parents, 2 brothers, and 2 sisters. On August 13th, 1987, Patricia was buried at St. John's Cemetery on Cambridge Street. Thank you for listening. I'm Dan Yeager. If you enjoyed listening to this episode, please consider clicking the like button for us. And if you subscribe, the next episodes will show up in your feed. Click the bell on the right and select all, and you'll get a notification of when the next episode is ready. If you have any thoughts you'd like to share, please leave them in the comments below. We do read them all and respond to as many as we can. Anyone with information about what happened to Patricia Evans are asked to contact the Worcester Police Detective Bureau at 508-799-8651 or send an anonymous text at 274-637. Write TIP WPD plus your message or send an anonymous web-based message at worcesterma.gov/police. Come back on Thursday for Episode 8 of Unsolved Worcester Season 4, the August 1989 murder of 72-year-old John Riley. John was stabbed 29 times. He was found dead, sitting in a chair in a small apartment on Millbury Street. Special thanks to Worcester Public Library, the Worcester Police Department, the City of Worcester, and our sponsors for making this possible. Information on the murder of Patricia Evans was gathered from multiple resources, including the Telegram and Gazette. The Unsolved Worcester podcast music is provided by Tom Lebelzik of the Worcester Jazz Collective. This episode was written and produced by Pat Sargent. Drone footage provided by Ron Scott at New England Sky Pics. Videography and editing by Colin Turner. Sponsorship information announcer Chandler Walsh. This program is supported in part by a grant from the Worcester Arts Council and the National Endowment for the Arts. Find out more about how National Endowment for the Arts grants impact individuals and communities. Visit www.arts.gov.